Have you ever found yourself wondering about how to manage the student behavior that comes? Sometimes you wonder if it's coming from students that are just feeling a little frustrated with the work in front of them. What do you even to do about that? Today, I'm going to talk to you about the zone of proximal development, and hopefully this understanding will help you to create the classroom calm you're looking for. So are you finding it challenging to differentiate instruction to meet the diverse needs of your students? The Zone of Proximal Development, or ZPD, or ZPD, depending on where you are, is a key concept that can help you tailor the teaching strategies that you're using effectively. And by understanding each of your students' ZPD, you can provide the right level of challenge and support, and that way you will be engaging your students with the zone of proximal development. So let's start by saying, what is ZPD? The zone of proximal development is a term that was coined by a psychologist, Lev Vygotsky, and it describes the sweet spot of learning where students can accomplish tasks with some guidance, but not yet independently. This zone is where the most effective learning occurs. It's that bullseye of learning. Understanding the importance of the zone of proximal development is essential because it helps us to tailor our teaching strategies to meet students at their level. By focusing on this zone, we can provide the right balance of challenge and support, promoting growth and confidence. Identifying the zone of proximal development involves understanding your students' current capabilities and then where they need support next. So there are some key steps. You're going to observe your student performance on various tasks. So what that means is you might be teaching a whole class lesson in, say, writing, and you may be teaching them on character setting problem solution. You may be teaching them on what is a fairy tale. You may be teaching them on using more descriptive language. So you may be teaching the whole class a certain particular lesson, but when you meet with an individual student for a writing conference or a small group for a writing conference, I tended to do individual writing conferences, then I'm going to gauge their understanding as we sit there. I'm going to uh, understand that they may have heard that, they may have participated in it. They put down their little graphic organizer where they've got their character setting problem and solution. They've got their drawing there. And now they've got to, for some of them, the challenge is getting them to understand that that is not the story. Now they've got to take that information and transfer it over. Whereas I've got other students who are already writing paragraphs. So you're going to do it's not about creating one-on-one lessons for all of these students, whole class teaching, and you're going to gauge their understanding through observations, through the conferences, through the work that you take in, through how they're able to read their stories back, how they meet with other students to do peer editing. Okay, so you're going to engage in conversations that uncover their learning needs. So when you have those one-on-one conversations, those one-on-one conferences, that's part of your assessment. And I just wrote little notes for each student so I could see the progress they were making. And then I'm going to adjust my teaching methods to provide the appropriate level of challenge. If you've got a student who's just starting to write, I mean, are they putting down all the sounds that they hear? And of course, at another time in another class, I'm teaching them how to identify all the sounds in a word. T, right? And then putting them in my little Elkonin boxes. So I will be referring to other things and incorporating those teaching methods in. Whereas when I sit down with the student who is ready to do combined sentences, then I will teach them about comma and, right? Or compound sentences, sorry. But the point is that you are also teaching one-on-one, but you're not creating unique lesson plans for all the students. Your lesson plan is still about teaching the whole class that one area that they all need to know. So implementing the zone of proximal development in class means you're going to use scaffolding techniques. And you're going to, so that could be a scaffolding technique is the graphic organizer that has the character setting problem solution. It could be as simple as that. It could be a sheet that you give them a checklist so that they know that they've gone through all the steps of writing their story. And so these provide the temporary support they need to help students tackle tasks They can't do alone. It's not all about one-on-one attention with the teacher because we're nurturing independent learning and growth, a growth mindset and confidence in learning engagement. Of course, you're going to start with demonstrations and guide them through practice and gradually reduce support as they gain confidence. So when they get the graphic organizer, even if they had one the year before, because that teacher might have used a different looking one, and may have different expectations for exactly what it looked like. So you're going to teach them that graphic organizer as a whole class and work through it together and see what they need. So when you provide the scaffolds, you're pulling out something, in fairy tales and then narration, you're pulling out the same or similar graphic organizer to get them through that genre. So that's the scaffold. It may look different within each genre, but that's one of the tools that you'll use to scaffold them. It's not all about sitting with them one-on-one, teaching them individually. Incorporating ZPD into your teaching creates a dynamic and supportive learning environment. And you can also use collaborative activities like group projects or peer tutoring to encourage students to learn from each other within their zone of proximal development. And so you might have students who are at the same level working together. I'll be honest, I didn't do a ton of that. We had, I did small group work and then they were working with students, with peers that were at relatively the same level. That was primarily for math small groups or reading small groups, but a lot of the time we used random partner cards. So ZPD does not necessarily mean using the collaborative activities, that they're all homogenous in that they're all the same level. Excuse me here. When you embrace the zone of proximal development, it really can transform your classroom into a place where your students feel challenged, yet also capable. Because you've got to remember, teaching is about inspiring growth and confidence within all of your students. So I would invite you to reflect on how you can start by incorporating the zone of proximal development into your teaching practices. Rome wasn't built in a day. Think about one subject area that you can really focus on. That is, how are you going to take notes? How are you going to observe your students? How are you going to provide feedback? How are you going to scaffold their learning? All right. So I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And I would love to continue to learn and grow together as a community of teachers. So are you ready to take your classroom management to the next level? Because zone of proximal development is part of the whole process of differentiation, which brings down behavior from frustrated students who are acting out because they're either overwhelmed or they're bored. So let's talk about the next step. You could download my gift to you, the free classroom management checklist. You can see the cover on it, from it over on the far right there. You can see I've got the QR code, the bit.ly link, and there's a download link in the comments below. And you can use any of those to download it for free. I hope you join me again. You will see some suggested videos down below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update, but also so I can reach more teachers that may find this useful and helpful. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you soon. Bye now.